How long does Retatrutide stay in your system? In this video, I will uncouple how long it stays in your system, why it may take longer for some of you to experience the impacts that you want to have when using this, but we'll also show you how not to use it and why it does seem to stay in your system longer. And so for those of you who are doing these microdoses, 3 injections a week, you might not be actually getting the therapeutic benefit at all. So I'm Regan Archibald. I'm the founder of Ageless Future. We've got a group of medical professionals who are world-class at peptides. The thing that we're really good at is helping you identify and gain clarity on what you want your future health to look like. And then we help you achieve that as quickly as possible without risking any downside impacts for your health in the future. So let's jump in. So how long does Retatrutide stay in your system? Well, from what the research shows, now, this was one of the studies that was conducted. It's called Pharmacokinetics and Safety of Retatrutide, a novel triple hormone receptor agonist. And this was in Eli Lilly's phase 1 studies. They evaluated dosing ranges and drug half-life in healthy individuals. And what their conclusion was is the mean half-life is 6.1 to 6.7 days or 144 hours. And this is where that weekly dosing came into play. And so how long it stays in your body, that means that if the half-life is about 6 to 7 days, you're still going to have some of the impacts of Retatrutide in your system for up to 2 weeks, for example. And one of the things that you want to realize is that it's more of a slow release. Like Retatrutide is not going to just turn off your appetite. It's not like now you just don't even want to eat unless you're doing it too much. But in general, Retatrutide, you're going to see a gradual decline in your appetite. And most people notice that in the first couple of days. Like, in fact, when I've used Retatrutide for just over 2 years, about 2.5 years, and I found that when I started taking it, I noticed that food noise just calmed down. It was so exciting. And so the frequent dosing, because the half-life is about 144 hours, and then there's concept in pharmacokinetics, and you want this steady state concentration on the receptors. You need to have proper receptor agitation or receptor saturation in order to get the therapeutic benefits. And so if you're somebody who is like, well, I noticed my appetite came back 3 days later, it doesn't mean like, okay, go take more of that. It just like wait until that half-life is extended and do a proper dose the next week. And for those of you who are like, well, what is a proper dose? Well, I've got a whole video on this, but it really depends on what you're looking for. And this is why it's so important to get your blood labs ran so that you're not overdosing on it, which can be devastating because it takes 6 to 7 days to get it out of your system. And if you have that nausea, if you feel tired on it, you may have overexpressed that GLP-1 pathway. But the benefit of Retatrutide is the GLP-1 pulse is far weaker than what you'd find in tirzepatide by a magnitude of about 5 times. And then it's almost 10 times less magnitude than what you'd find in semaglutide or like Ozempic. So Retatrutide, from just an overall ability to modify body composition, that means where I want to build muscle, but I also want to lose fat and I want stable blood sugar. Well, Retatrutide does seem to be the most advantageous unless you're somebody who deals with like alcoholism or any other addiction. They've actually done studies on porn addiction with the GLP-1s. Seems to work with almost every addiction, which is pretty fascinating. Understanding that mechanism of addiction, it does seem to correlate very much so with GLP-1s. And if that receptor is broken, there's no satiation. So with Retatrutide, if you're thinking, all right, how long does it stay in your system? Well, it depends on how active you are as well, because what you're going to have is you have the saturation of the receptors. Once the receptors have that pulse, that Retatrutide activates the GIP, it's glucagon, and it's also the GLP-1. Now you're going to see this adaptive response, and that's the real benefit. That adaptive response means now your glucose, which once was your insulin resistance, your glucose was just going and being stored as fat. Now you've got insulin sensitivity, and that glucose goes into the tissues, and it's utilized as energy. That's where you want it. With glucagon helps remove fat from the liver. In one of the studies, 82% of fat was removed from patients who had non-alcoholic steatosis or NASH, fatty liver disease. And that's just groundbreaking. But what glucagon also does is while it cleans up your liver, you get better protein synthesis. So the proteins you eat, they get broken down better. Your liver is functioning better, so that means you recover more, your hormones are more healthy, your skin looks better, your digestive system works better, and you hold on to muscle. And if you want to lose weight for good and fix your body composition once and do it for good, then this peptide is phenomenal because muscle building is one of the key aspects of it. And when you have adequate levels of muscle mass, muscle is a disposal system for glucose. So you can pull glucose right into the muscle, and that's where you want it because then your body can use it for an energy source. The other part of Retatrutide that's really impressive is the GIP. That creates more insulin sensitivity, and it's about 8 times stronger than the GIP that you'd find in like tirzepatide. So overall, because this peptide stays in your system longer, you want to have that concentration. You want to make sure that you've got this steady state concentration. Once that steady state's there, now you can get the proper adaptation. And then once you've got that adaptation, then you start creating these building blocks where your body starts to go through the transformation. For some of you, it may be 2 months, 3 months before you get to that ideal body weight. But what we find on average is our clients lose about 32 pounds over the course of a year. So once you've lost the weight, let's just lose it once for good. That's the crux. If you can build healthy muscle, then it's yours to keep. But one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to forget to work on your digestive system, your detoxification, all the filtration, stay hydrated, eat the right foods, get out and exercise, get out in the sun in the morning as the sun's rising, as the sun's setting, have great relationships. That's real health. Health, I define health as your ability to generate energy, your ability to do the fun things you want to do, and having a great lifestyle. And so I make these videos so hopefully it can lead you in a direction that allows you to have your best life and allows you to live as long as you possibly can with unreasonable health. So if you love this video and you want to go deeper, watch my video on how to dose Retatrutide. I'll see you there.